Hey guys, welcome back to AFK Journey. In today's video, we're doing an updated Necrodrakon guide. This is looking at the endless mode. I do have my other video which goes through progressing through the early game, through the different difficulties, where most people are like using Cecilia and Odie and stuff like that. But now I've entered into the endless mode. I want to give you guys an update on my progression. As always, there's no one right team for everyone. There's so many variables, but I'm going to do my best in this video to give you guys a bunch of options to test, depending on where your account's at, and hopefully you guys can maximize some damage in this boss, whether it be in the endless mode or some of the other difficulties. Now, also, I will leave in the description a link to 3 different websites, Analytica, there's one from Vatra, and also Pridewin. They have great guides for like endgame teams and stuff like that, but once again, I feel like it's a bit more nuanced, so I'm trying to go through that progression phase in this video. So let's jump in and take a look at the Necrodrakon and what I've done in my testing so far today. Now, the first thing to note is I do have one character at level 210, and the rest are level 200. So as you get more characters leveled up, a lot of people will be even across the board, so it won't matter. But often your main DPS is going to be the one you level up first, and the second one is normally going to be your second highest DPS, although sometimes maybe putting it onto your healer like the Smokey can help him survive longer, help the whole team survive longer. That is the way you're going to play around. But actually in Necrodrakon, this is the first time where using the movement units at lower ascension is actually working for me. Now, I do have... And for those who don't have Merrily at Mythic Plus, I am going to quickly show you guys a team that got close to this damage, just a little bit lower, using the standard Odie and stuff like that. But I do have my Mythic Plus Merrily, so she has become my main bossing damage dealer. My Corrin is only Mythic, so he doesn't have his exclusive equipment, which is his key functionality. And over here, my Tamisha is only, I think, Elite Plus, Epic Plus. So she is low ascension as well. But these guys just managed to make me get my highest damage. And the other thing that I want to mention in this team, which some people may say, what about this, is the idea of doing something like this with Smokey in the front so that Smokey's heal range is further. The problem is when I do that, the Smokey does die a lot faster because he's in range, and the AoE from the boss basically sits on Smokey the whole time and he can't survive it. So this turned out to be my best current formation that I can get for damage. Now, if we want to look at another formation, once again, let's say you don't have Merrily, then we'd be looking at something like this. And I did try with Coco. I couldn't get Coco to get me high enough damage when I was trying these things. But the team I tested was this, with then putting Odie in the back here, and this team got about 22 million damage, whereas my other team got close to 24 million damage. I did 3 runs on each of them and recorded the highest score because those were the 2 teams I found to be like the most optimal in those situations. Now, if you don't have Merrily and Mythic Plus, you can definitely just go ahead and do this and put your Cecilia in there, and it should be a pretty similar result. Now, my reasoning behind Kruger, Kruger's going to get put in more work to help benefit Cecilia than he does to a Merrily, because Merrily has a bunch of true damage. But still, Merrily is going to be more damage than Cecilia, just because she's such a high damage dealer. But this is kind of like your budget-friendly one if you don't have Merrily at Mythic Plus yet. Then the other thing to look at, and with this, you can run this one, check damage, and then see if your Cecilia or your Odie is doing more damage, and then make them the higher leveled one, depending on where you're at. Because once again, I do have that one character at level 210. But that would be a perfectly fine, and my reasoning for why Kruger is working so well in this composition, even when I run it like this, is that he does make the boss put some of his AoEs into the melee range, which helps the rest of the team survive. He does still amplify some of that Thorin damage and some of the Merrily damage as well. But like I said, I couldn't get a team using Coco instead of Kruger to work as well on this boss. The timing wasn't there. It just was not working properly for me. But I do think dropping Kruger and putting a Coco in, and if I was doing Coco, I'd probably do Coco around this position to avoid having too many people grouped around Smokey so that Smokey can still heal. So you'd have to play around. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's something like that. But you can definitely experiment with Coco. But like I said, I could not get Coco to out damage my other comps. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump in and I'll show you this team with Kruger. I'll show you this team with Coco instead of Kruger, so you guys can get an idea. And then I'll show you my optimal damage team, which is that movement focused team, even though my Tamisha's low ascension and my My Corrin is only at Mythic and he lacks the damage that he gains from Mythic Plus. I want to show you guys all these options and hopefully this can help you think of an option for your team. Once again, feel free to try Smokey out in the front row. If you do and you have Mythic Plus Thorin, make sure you link over here, but that's something you can do. But you can definitely try Smokey in the front row, but for me personally, it wasn't working. So let's jump in. Let's take a look at this team specifically, and then we'll go through the Coco team, and then we'll go ahead and go through my optimal team at the moment. Once again, if you've got only one character hyper level, to do your main DPS, whoever's doing the most damage. If you've got two that are getting a level boost, then do your 2 main damage dealers, or maybe you can test it with your healer, or if your Kruger's struggling to get his full defense break, you can see my Kruger did get an ultimate, so he maxed out his defense break, and that's all we really needed from him. So now you can see here, we're going to get basically scattering of the enemy's bomb, and when we have Merrilee, we do have some RNG factors with the movement of Merrilee. As you can see, Odie could actually drop early here, which would absolutely suck. But with Merrilee, there you go, he drops. So this is going to be a low damage one, and it does come down to a lot of RNG on where Merrilee decides to jump. But she can just live here with Thorin until the next ult, and Thorin can tank it out. They are still linked, so as long as she doesn't jump into the puddle, she should be pretty... she got hit. But as you can see, that was 20 million anyway, which is still pretty decent for where I'm at in the game currently. So that wasn't too bad. You can do a little bit better than that. Like I said, I maxed out at a 22 million run with that team. So that is team number 1 that you can use. Once again, if you don't have Merrilee, I think that team using Cecilia is probably going to be one of your best bets. I don't think Cecilia works as well in the movement team where you're using Corrin and Tamisha, because then you're losing out on faction bonus as well, and it just gets a bit sketchy because then I don't think you're getting enough damage. So let's jump in and let's take a look at the next team, which is dropping this and putting the Coco in. Now, once again, there might be a world in which you can make this work. Once again, I just struggled to get this team to function with the timing of Coco. I could do something like this, maybe, even if I did it something like that, and I could put this on because sometimes this changes the timing of Coco. But, you know, maybe we test that a bit later. But in general, this is the kind of team I would be looking at for running the Coco comp. So let's go ahead and see. I'm trying to think if there's any other changes. I mean, I could run like that. That would put bomb range in there. Maybe the bombs go further back here, but they're further away. Not too sure. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to test this. Now, once again, the Smokey in this team is not giving the buff to Odie straight off the bat. He does need to get one ult to be able to give the buff to Odie, but I find this a good trade-off to not have them continuously grouped and both of those being hit by the poison at the same time. It's a little damage loss at the start, but from my testing, it works out to be the safest. So, and same with the Kruger team. So let's go ahead. Let's try this. Let's see. Oh, no, you go there. Okay, dude, I thought I hit start. That was going to be a massive rip. So let's go ahead and check. So once again, we're going to see where the first AoE goes. Okay, it goes there. That's not too bad. We're pretty happy with that. Once again, that's where Smokey gets, Odie is out of range of that one. So now, once again, maybe I could get a little bit more damage by putting Odie in range of that first heal, but I think it's just going to murder me too much on the poisons. And you can see Coco getting super low already, and if Coco gets the next AoE, we're going to be in trouble. Luckily, Coco doesn't get the AoE, which is fantastic. So we're actually doing pretty solid, and Coco just missing that ult there, like I said. So I'm actually going to do one more try of this, and we'll try it with the attack speed artifact on Coco, just to show you guys, because that is a great tech, the attack speed artifact on Coco, because it can change her timing of her ultimate, which can then sometimes save you. Because if we got her ultimate 1 second earlier, we would have mitigated that whole ultimate damage, and we would have had our whole team surviving for another wave. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that, and we'll test that live and see if that works. That is one thing I didn't actually test. So let's do this. I do want to save myself a couple extra attacks for once I level more characters up with AFK loot, because this is definitely the start of the day still. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to test it like this, and then we're going to go pop this here. And so with this system, we have the Coco going to get this attack speed buff. So let's see if this changes things up drastically for us or not. And I'm not putting Odie here because then that would make Coco run over in the inside, and then we'd probably have that same problem. Once again, you can play around with positioning. Positioning is a big one in this boss, but let's go ahead there and let's see if this gets us any damage increase. But hopefully with all this processes, you guys are getting things to think about to see if there's a way to maximize your damage. So once again, there we go. The poison did land on Odie there, but now that Merrilee's moved, hopefully the next poison, okay, that goes in the middle there. Once again, it's just a matter of trying to spread that damage as much as possible so not the same units are getting completely nuked every time. Can we get the... I think we're going to get screwed here because I don't think we're going to have enough healing throughput unless we get this Coco ult right now. Come on, Coco. You can do it. You can do it, Coco. There it is. Okay, we need to get enough healing to survive this ult. Okay, good. That worked well. Once again, that is where the Coco got super clutch. Can we get... oh, we just missed that smoky ult. So, unfortunately, we're going to lose it. Once again, I did try a bunch of different formations with that Coco. I just couldn't quite get it to max out. Maybe we try that again and Smokey gets a quicker ult or something and you can max damage. Once again, there are a few RNG factors, but still not a horrid run at that. But once again, always in bosses, if you're struggling and you're using Coco and something is one-shotting, for instance, Skyclops with the beam, if something is one-shotting you, you can definitely try putting Coco at the back with that attack speed one, and it can sometimes adjust the turn order, like the frequency of the ultimates on the Coco, and it can sometimes get you across the line. But let's jump in, and now I'll show you guys what turned out to be my best team personally. Once again, this team I think would require you having Merrilee as Mythic Plus and your main damage dealer. Otherwise, if you're doing something like this, where's Tamisha? There she is. If you're doing something like this, I think you just lose out with this team. I don't think you get enough amplification and stuff like that, even if you're doing something like this, because you do lose out on the faction bonus as well. So I think this team is going to require you having the Merrilee, but nonetheless, it's one attempt. You can try it with your other damage dealers and see how it goes. But once again, once we get Corrin to Mythic Plus, then this team is going to really, really excel in this fight. But, you know, we've got to get there first. But let's go through. Once again, I'm using this formation instead of this formation because this formation just turned out not to work as well. We just die too quick essentially with the Smokey, and that's what we're looking at. So this one here, let's jump into it. The thing I love about Corrin is he does give those consistent shields, which really does help with our survival in situations. So let's go ahead, let's see what damage we can get with this one on this run. Yes, and I've got the haste artifact on, so that's the other important thing. I did try it with the fireball artifact. Didn't work as well, so I went back to this one. I was just experimenting because once I found this to be my max damage team, I like to experiment my max damage team then with different artifacts to see how they go. But once again, you'll see the positive about putting Smokey forward position is that his heal is in range of the melee units, because when we look at Corrin and Tamisha, you can see they actually do get themselves out of range of the heal at times, and that would be a great argument for putting Smokey in the front row. But once again, I just found the RNG, it got too much heat on Smokey, so he was dying too quick in that type of situation, and so that's where we go. So now, unfortunately, Smokey is going to die here just before he can get an ult. You can see he is shielded. The shield's gone, and he's going to get clapped there. If we could get a little bit more energy regeneration on him, we could actually get that ult, and then he could deal some damage. Maybe once I get a second character that I can boost the level of, maybe that's when I go ahead and I put Smokey up and see if he can survive that bit longer. But as you can see there, we did 24-8, so that's even better than the 3 runs that I did of this one testing for max damage, and that's the kind of stuff we're looking at. So once again, hopefully in this video there is something to help you guys with your team. Once again, there are those resources for the absolute end game, but the absolute end game, you do have to have everything maxed to have a quote-unquote set meta. Everything else is feel around, use the strategies, and try and make the best team possible. As always, if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. I'm not saying I am the biggest brain on earth. This is my personal testing and the best that I've been able to come up with my specific team and roster. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.